Next man up, 1025, The Game. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis from News 2, Parker Kelly with you. Parker back at our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. I am in Birmingham, Alabama today. I will be here for the next few days as Vandy women's basketball supposed to play tomorrow night in Oxford. Game has been moved to Friday afternoon here in Birmingham. So been a fun week of travel, but we are joined by Cory Curtis. Cory, how's it going?
I'm a delight, Jake. It's good to be with you.
Yes, good to have you, Cory. Fun show today. Of course, I was not on the show yesterday as we had a flight, so plenty to react to with Brian Daboll officially becoming the Titans' next offensive coordinator. Bill Belichick, not in the Hall of Fame. At least as a first ballot Hall of Famer. We'll talk about that. And Teron Davenport, he cannot make the show tomorrow because he is coming back from the Senior Bowl. So TD is going to join us at 11. He will give us reaction to Brian Daboll and everything that he's seen down in Mobile. So going to be a fun show. But let's start on Brian Daboll, Cory. We talked about the offensive coordinator options last week after Robert Saleh was announced as the head coach. And when I look at it, I think Brian Daboll may have been the best hire they could have made. He's an experienced guy, was able to develop Josh Allen from a flashy but inconsistent rookie into a consistent, eventual MVP type player. And that's what you need for Cam Ward. You need somebody who can not limit the good things that he does, but also be able to develop him into a consistent playmaker inside of the system that you're running.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly looks like, number one, it's the hire they wanted to make. So that's a victory in itself. There's a reason that press release got pumped out faster than any other press release they've gotten out in years. Was they were pounding their chest saying, see, we got the guy we wanted. Other teams wanted him. We got him. Yay us. And, there's some truth to that because there's a lot of bad publicity around the team right now. And so they took their victory lap, and they should, because it's an important development, for the football team. When you look at the amount of experience they have at the coordinator positions compared to just a couple of years ago, it's pretty staggering. Now, it's got to be good experience. The two guys that have taken over as head coach and OC to exactly have a dominant record as head coaches. But, both have been very successful coordinators, and we'll see if the two guys from New York can get together and build a winner in Nashville. I think one of the things that's going to be interesting to see is how Daboll works with what Cam does well. Because with Jackson Dart, he did run a lot of RPO stuff, and Callahan just didn't with Cam, and so I would anticipate seeing an influx of that. I don't know how much, but certainly more than we saw. And it'll be interesting to see, how this whole look of this thing changes.
Yeah, it was funny. I think it was Mike Herndon who tweeted it out, the years of play calling experience compared to the Brian Callahan first staff when you had Callahan, Denard Wilson, and Colt Anderson. 0 seasons of play calling experience. These three guys, Saleh, Daboll, Bones Fossil, I believe the number was 38, 39 seasons of play calling experience between the three of them. And you are right, it has to be good experience. There are, outside of Bones Fossil, I think there are red flags to be seen with both Daboll and Saleh. But in terms of what they've done with their specific units, it has been successful experience with them. Robert Saleh's defenses have always been good. And Brian Daboll, when he was with the Bills, that was some of the best that we've seen from Josh Allen, although not during his MVP season last year.
There's a reason both of them became head coaches, because they were dominant as coordinators. And so, that's how you get those jobs. And so, now being a head coach is something different. And hopefully, they both learned from their past scenarios what they need to do better. I'm sure Saleh will not say it publicly, but the number one thing he'll probably would think to do better is have a better quarterback. And I'm sure that's part of what made. I think Cam Ward is what made this job attractive for both guys, really. because Daboll was big on him last year before the draft, and obviously Saleh saw Cam just a few weeks ago in San Francisco, and I guarantee you, if he did not think Cam Ward was a starting quarterback, Tennessee would not have been number one on his list. Now, Cam's still got a lot to prove, but they both think that there's something to work with from there. I mean, I would tend to agree. So it'll be interesting to see, just how different they are. I expect Saleh to be more emotional. Not that I think that that's a necessity, but I think he wants to be more himself. And I do think that is a necessity. I think if you're an emotional guy, you're an emotional guy. And so you can go ahead and be that. I do think that, when you see the clips of Brian Daboll, it's going to be a different tone at practice. I'm fairly safe in saying that. I'm interested to see not just how practice looks, but how it sounds.
I agree with that. I think you're bringing in a different dynamic in terms of these coaches from what you had. And not that Denard Wilson, I think Denard Wilson was somebody who, held his players
Yes,
accountable and, he would
absolutely.
get after guys. But you bring in Saleh, who is known for, you watch him on the sidelines and he's the one
Yeah.
jumping off and throwing his clipboard and high-fiving guys coming off the field. And Bones Fossil clearly has created a culture and a respect among the guys that he coaches. And Daboll, I've seen a lot of clips from him from that offseason Hard Knocks that I think make you feel pretty good about his ability to develop a quarterback and the way he goes about things with his quarterbacks. It's been a lot has been made of, hey, Brian Daboll wanted to trade up for Cam Ward last year. And
Yeah.
I think that's something that you can look at and say, this is clearly someone that he had a plan for and felt like he could develop into a franchise quarterback. He didn't get him with the Giants. Now he has the opportunity to execute that plan in Nashville. And I'm excited to see what he is going to bring. We probably won't hear from Daboll until I heard PK say maybe the combine. And I think that probably sounds about right, is maybe that's the first
Probably.
time we hear
Sure.
from him. But I do like, as much as I hate that Robert Saleh has been the head coach of the Titans for 9 days now since the reports came out and we haven't heard from him yet. It will be nice tomorrow when he's introduced at 2 p.m. that you already know who his OC is and you can ask
I
those
agree.
questions and hear from him with an actual person in mind instead of just this vague OC who's going to be hired at a future time.
Well, really, Jake, we know who all his coordinators are because Bones Fossil was retained, and he's reportedly going to call the plays on defense. He'll have a
Right.
defensive coordinator, but if he's calling the plays, he's the defensive coordinator. So he should have answers to all of those. And so, yeah, we will have more to talk about than we typically would in a first meeting, scenario. And so I think that, while the wait is really long, um, it's there is some benefit to it. There is some
Yeah.
benefit. I think didn't Stefanski just talk for the first time yesterday?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. So, they're not alone. And, the weather has some to do with it. And, I think logistics have other parts to do with it, but
Right,
whatever.
right. And it does seem like tomorrow is going to be the day. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. is the scheduled first introductory press conference for Robert Saleh, and we will get to hear from him as the head coach of the Titans for the very first time. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to text or call. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Again, Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis with you for the full show today. We're going to continue talking about Brian Daboll as he has been hired as the Titans head coach. What does that look like in terms of the offense that they'll run? And also maybe some connections with some players out there that could end up coming back and being weapons for Cam Ward in the future. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis from News 2, Parker Kelly, next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 1025, the game. Jake Lyman, Corey Curtis, Parker Kelly with you on this Wednesday. The Titans have a new offensive coordinator. Brian Daboll has been hired under Robert Saleh. And as Corey said, heading into the last break, Titans have their 3 play callers already locked up. Robert Saleh, the head coach, going to call plays on defense, at least reportedly. Brian Daboll on the offensive side, and Bones Fossil on special teams. And I think the Josh Allen comparison, it's not perfect, right? With Cam Ward, of not everybody is going to have the astronomical jump that Josh Allen did from his rookie season to the MVP player that he's become. But you do have to look and say, all right, under the same play caller, here's the growth that Josh Allen had in his rookie season. 53% completion percentage, 2,000 yards, 6.5 yards per attempt, 10 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. His second year, he raised the completion percentage up to 59%, slightly better in yards per attempt, 20 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. And then in his third year was where he made the huge jump. Completion percentage rose to nearly 70%, 4,500 yards, 8 yards per attempt, 37 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. So it's not perfect. Cam Ward has to be talented enough. He has to be willing to be coached by Brian Daboll. But when you're looking for someone who has experience in exactly what Cam Ward needs to do better, I don't know if you could find somebody more experienced than Brian Daboll, who has worked with a similar type of player who was good at the off-schedule things, but didn't have quite as much experience doing the on-schedule things, for lack of a better term.
Well, and I think the other thing when you look at Brian is, it's not just Josh Allen, because if it was just Josh Allen, you could really question, well,
right,
was he going to get better on his own? But when you look at, like, nobody saw him getting as much out of Jackson Dart as he got out of Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
And, so I think he deserves some of the credit out of it. I was just looking at his numbers, 2,200 yards, 15 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. I mean, those were good numbers on a bad football team. And, so I think he deserves some credit for, when they finally went with the kid, curtailing the game plan to what he does well. And again, that's what I keep getting back to. And it's not just with the quarterback, it's with the whole team, curtailing your game plans to what your team does well. No more square pegs and round holes. And so, I think that is encouraging as well. Obviously there was the flame out with Daniel Jones, and that wasn't so good, but there was some good football with Daniel Jones at one point.
He did get Daniel Jones to the playoffs in his first season. And you look at the numbers from Daniel Jones, it looked like he was trending towards being a complete bust after his second and third seasons. 11 touchdowns, 10 picks in his second year, 10 touchdowns, 7 picks in his third year. Hadn't played a full season in any of his first 3 years in the league. Brian Daboll comes in, and all of a sudden he's throwing for 3,000 yards for the first time in his career, 15 touchdowns, and they get to the playoffs. So you're right. It's not just Josh Allen, but that is definitely the crown jewel of his quarterback development is what he did with Josh Allen. And with Cam Ward, I think it would be wishful thinking to say the exact same thing is going to happen. And 2 years down the road, Cam Ward is going to be one of the elite quarterbacks in football. But I really like the hire, considering Ward and Allen, I think, had the same kind of red flags at this point in their career after their rookie season. And you're bringing in a guy who knows how to coach him out of some of the bad habits while not completely getting rid of what makes him special as a player.
Well, I mean, you'd have to clarify what your red flags are, because Allen's accuracy was horrific coming out, and he was more of a run first quarterback. And Cam is absolutely not a run first quarterback.
Right. I wouldn't say,
I'd like to coach him into running a little bit more.
I wouldn't say the run first things. It was the accuracy is more what I'm saying. Is that Cam Ward,
he makes Cam look like a sniper.
Cam Ward struggled with making the easy plays. He could make the hard plays. That's kind of similar to what Josh Allen. Why he was drafted was because of the ability to make the plays others can't.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Cam make ridiculous throws, and then we saw him miss on some throws that you really would like to have seen him make. And then there was the issue of taking the layup, and that will also be a continued coaching point. Take the layup, let the guy do. I mean, we saw that with Caleb Williams for the Bears.
Yeah.
A lot of he and Cam have a lot of similarities. In that they make the spectacular throw, sometimes miss the easier one, and neither one of them wants to take the layup very often.
Brian Daboll going to be the next offensive coordinator for the Titans. And again, Robert Saleh will be introduced tomorrow afternoon. So we will get to hear Robert Saleh's thoughts on the process there. But you were right, Cory, saying the Titans, they put out that announcement way faster than you would have expected. It went from, if he doesn't get the Bills job, and then, of course, the Bills job comes off the market yesterday and the reports start coming out. All right, well, now if he doesn't get the Raiders job, but the Titans were able to lock up Brian Daboll yesterday, and he is going to be the offensive coordinator. Before we get into some of these names with some connections to Daboll and Saleh in the free agent market,
sure.
Your thoughts on Joe Brady being the next head coach of the Bills? The Buffalo says, You know what? It's not good enough, Sean McDermott. You've gotten us to the playoffs 8 out of the last 9 years. You're fired. Joe Brady, you were a part of not making the Super Bowl the last couple of years, but let's just promote you and see what happens.
Well, I think the feeling is that the offense wasn't the problem. The feeling was
you're right there.
That defensively, and Sean McDermott's a defensive guy, and so I don't know that there were any other sexier picks out there for the Buffalo Bills. Joe Brady's been a young offensive mind that people have thought a lot of for a long time, and I'm frankly a little surprised he wasn't a head coach a year or two sooner than he is right now. So this is like he was going to be a head coach somewhere, and for him, he gets Josh Allen. So he walks into a really good situation now. Just as we talked about Brian Daboll with Robert Saleh being really important, who he picks as his defensive coordinator is going to be really important. And can he be on the same page with the GM that Sean McDermott could not be? That's another aspect to this whole thing. But like when he was with LSU, and then I think with the Carolina Panthers, I mean, Joe Brady's been a guy that league circles have thought a lot of for a while. So I think it's a solid hire. But the bar is high for him. The bar, I mean, it's clear: get to the Super Bowl or you are a failure, which is kind of what it should be in the National Football League. But how many years does he have to do it? That's the big question.
No, that is true. And I don't think it's going to completely blow up in their face. I don't think the Bills are going to fall back to mediocrity, but I just thought it was funny that it's like you fire the coach who has been getting you in the conversation for years because you want change, and then you just promote his offensive coordinator. But I do get the point that the offense wasn't the problem this year for Buffalo.
Well, I mean, wasn't Bill Jackson on Doug Collins' bench with the Bulls with Michael Jordan? I believe he was.
I think so. Yep.
And so it's happened before where the guy underneath is really the guy. And so maybe they think Joe Brady's really the guy. I mean, they've seen him. How many years has he been there?
I want to say 3.
3. So they've gotten a good look at what he can do and how he does it and how the players respond to him. So, if he fails, it's a massive failure on the GM because he should know this guy really, really well.
Yep. Brandon Beane, he won the power struggle. Terry Pagula defending him in the press conference. But I don't know how many more chances he gets if Joe Brady's not the guy. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Quickly looking around because Titans have new coaches, Robert Saleh, Brian Daboll, and there's some connections with free agents out there that have been made. Sure. I mentioned to you during one of the breaks, Wan'Dale Robinson has been a name brought up by some Titans fans. I know to some Giants fans out there saying, oh, well, he's going to Tennessee. I would get it. I mean, he's a talented young wide receiver. But in terms of fit, you made a good point that him and Chimdike might be a little bit repetitive in your wide receiver room.
Well, I mean, Raheed Shaheed is also available. I mean, he's a good football player. But he is the same thing as Chimdike. And so do you want to pay these guys what you're going to have to pay them to take Chimdike off the football field, who just went all pro as a rookie, and you want to develop, and by the way, is on a rookie contract. So I don't see those as financial fits and investments for this football team. I look at more as a guy who plays on the outside, a guy like Jawan Jennings, who he would know from San Francisco, who's, not a one, but he would bring, a solid blocker, a guy who can produce and has produced in very big games. And, you know, he would be a culture guy too. I mean, he is on the edge all the time. And, the question is, do you want that on your football team? I would say most of the time, yeah, but that's up to the coach and up to the GM, and then there's a guy like Alec Pierce who also can play, on the outside and has been largely a deep ball threat for the Indianapolis Colts. But again, he's going to cost you a lot of money as well. But of the guys that that you can immediately connect, Wan'Dale Robinson and Jawan Jennings are the two. And I don't see the slot guys as a worthwhile investment for this football team.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think in free agency, you're looking for someone who can be one of your starting outside wide receivers this year, next year, but you hope that you can draft some young guys who eventually displace that guy, or maybe Alec Iamaner continues to develop and becomes your wide receiver too. But you're right. With what Chimdike did this year, you don't really need the slot speed returner type of guy, and that's what Robinson, Rashid Shaheed would be. It would feel a little bit repetitive, especially when a guy like Shaheed, yes, he's been great in Seattle, made a great play on Sunday night in that NFC Championship game early, but a lot of his value does come in the return game too. And when
Yeah.
you have Chimdike, you don't really need anybody who's going to want to be your returner.
And I'm not saying these guys aren't good football players, and you want as many good football players as you can find, but only one of them can be on the field at a time. And when you're spending your money, you have to
Right.
allot it judiciously. And there are other spots on the outside at edge, a new guard, where at corners where the Titans need to be spending their money. So, if I think spending it on a second slot / kick returner is a luxury that this team doesn't need and can afford right now.
Agreed. I think Jawan Jennings makes a whole lot of sense. I think it depends on Robert Sala's relationship
Sure.
with Jennings from when they were in
Yeah.
San Francisco, but I think there's a lot that would be attractive to Jawan Jennings coming home, a local
Mm-hmm.
kid to Middle Tennessee. Also gets to go from California state taxes to Tennessee state taxes, 0. So I think there would be some
Oh,
at least.
that's not entirely accurate. Okay, these guys pay based on
I
where they
no, I
play
know.
each game, and even in Tennessee, there is a performance tax, so they do pay taxes on what they make here in Tennessee.
I will say lower state taxes than what he's
Sure.
playing in
Okay.
the NFC West, where you're playing
Sure.
at minimum 9 games in California. So,
Yeah.
because they
Yeah.
had to
As
play
you
at least
mentioned.
one on the road to the Rams. So
Yeah.
minimum
If
9,
they play
maybe
the
10, 11. So
yeah, if they play the
uh,
Chargers, yeah.
right. So I think Jennings would be a fit. We'll see. Free agency still a little over a month or so away. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to text or call. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. On the other side, we've talked about the offensive coordinator, the special teams coordinator. How important is the defensive coordinator? Because we have seen some names that have been listed as interviewees for the Titans. And what should the Titans be looking for when bringing in a DC who may not be calling plays under Robert Saleh? 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Parker Kelly, next man up, 1025 the game. Next man up, 1025, the game. Jake Lyman, Cory, Curtis, Parker, Kelly with you. Cory looks like he's brought a little friend over.
It's Momo the sports cat. The benefit of doing the show at home is she's demanding attention. Bye. Get out.
Momo, our special guest here on Next Man Up today. She's the next cat up.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, let's go to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Adam in Portland is called in. Adam, thanks for calling. What you got for us today?
Dude, you know what? I was going to say something about Daboll. Y'all are talking about Juwan Jennings. I've been beating the table for him since he got drafted. I was like, man, we should have drafted him. We don't have enough likable people on our team, and everybody in the state will love him. He would be one of the most likable players. He would be the cheap, most likable player that we could possibly get in free agency.
Oh, he's not cheap.
He's a junkyard dog, man. And Salah's seen it, obviously, and we saw it in Tennessee. So I don't think anybody would appreciate him as much as the Titans. So that's my call for today, dude. I want Juwan Jennings too. I think that's a good call by you guys.
Thanks for the call.
I agree
Adam.
with what he would be a popular player, except for the teams he plays against, because he is that guy that you hate to play. I mean, he is in a fight virtually every other game, because he plays to the edge. But he just signed his last contract. Was what, like 2 years? It's $12 million, something like that.
Yes.
He is not. He's not going to be cheap this time around. He's going to cost you. He's going to cost you considerably more. I would guess he's $15 to $18 million. That's just my guess. I haven't looked to see what Spot Track has him at for projected earnings. See if I can find that.
Spot Track's market value for Juwan Jennings, $22.6 million.
I mean, this is a guy who's never had a 1,000-yard season. That's a lot of money.
That seems high. It is. Yeah. So right now you look at the wide receiver market value that Spot Track has, which isn't always entirely accurate. It's usually a good ballpark. George Pickens, just over $30 million. Juwan Jennings, 22.6. Alec Pierce, 20.2. Those are the top three. I don't know. The Titans have the cap space if they want to go out and get Juwan Jennings.
Yes,
but
they do.
He is 28. If they want to go do it, they can. I wonder if the Titans maybe shop in the Romeo Doubs aisle, where he's a 25-year-old and the market value estimate is only $12 million. Maybe that has a little bit more of a runway to improve and is going to cost you less money.
I would agree with that. And also, if you shop in the Alec Pierce store, you take from your opponent and make yourself better. And I think Dobbs and Pierce are both different from what they've got. And not that that's everything, but again, you don't want to repeat what you have.
Right. I think it also depends on, if you're Mike Borgonzi, you're looking ahead to the draft at the type of guy that you want to get. Because I'm sure that one of their top 3 picks is going to be a wide receiver. And you got to look at some of the guys that you have an eye on there that you feel like can grow and maybe be that wide receiver 1 for Cam Ward, and what type of player they are. Because again, you've got to have, not all wide receivers are built the same. And it's, Alec Iamaner, I think you like. I would be fine with repeating an Alec Iamaner and kind of just,
and that would be Juwan Jennings, right? Juwan Jennings would be kind of the same as Alec, big, tall, strong, physical player, combat catch guy. But you could also have a guy on a 2-year deal and see how Alec develops over time.
Right.
So you've got that as well. But bottom line, like you're talking about, no matter who they sign, they need a 1. And there's only one in this year's free agency class, and that's George Pickens. And I don't know. I mean, he got through this year problem-free in Dallas. Do you trust that that's who he is? Are you prepared to pay $30 million a year? Those are all questions that they have. But even again, if you sign somebody in free agency, you're still searching for a 1. And do you think you can draft that 1 in the second round? Because that's kind of the question. If you think you're going to fill that box this year, that's kind of the way you're looking at it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you tried to skip the drafting of a wide receiver when you signed Calvin Ridley. And like Ridley, when he's been healthy, has been fine, but he's not a wide receiver one
Inconsistent.
anymore. And
No,
I
you
don't,
can't count on him.
as much as George Pickens had a great year, that guy does not seem to be a reliable guy that you want to give $30 million a year to. I would much rather draft somebody that Brian Daboll and Robert Saleh believe can develop, even if it's a second round pick. You don't have to take Carnell Tate. You don't have to take Jordan Tyson. But if you can get a guy in the second round who you think can develop into that wide receiver one, I would much rather do that than spend a premium price in free agency on a wide receiver.
Well, we just saw you can get good value in round 4. I mean, both of those guys caught upwards of 50 passes, right? So I mean, and again, I'm on Ross St. Brown with his 4th round pick, but you can draft good players in round 2. Now, does that mean you're going to get a star there? No, but I think Antonio Brown was like a 6th rounder. So,
right.
You don't know, but they need to invest, and they need to invest on high end talent, high end speed. And it depends what's there. It really does. You can't just use your first or your second pick on a receiver. You've got other holes to fill. I mean, I'm not just saying they need best player available. They need as many good players as they can get, and you can't pass on great players for need. You can't.
Let's go back to our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. Gil from California has called in. Gil, thanks for calling. Good morning.
Hey, love the show, guys. How's it going this morning?
Doing great.
Fantastic. Gil, fire away.
I like the coaching hire, but to me, he just seems overqualified to be an offensive coordinator. So I would like to see, this is where Jason Garrett and Matt Nagy come in as a quarterback coach, because I think those guys can come in, and if Daboll is successful and moves forward, they can create a Cam Ward-friendly offense to where we don't have to change everything up. But my question to you guys is, who actually picks the quarterback coach? Is it Saleh or is it Daboll? Listen.
Well, it's Robert Saleh's coaching staff. Look, he may listen to Brian Daboll, but it's Robert Saleh's coaching staff, so he's the one who's going to make the hire on that. And you're talking about 2 former head coaches dropping down to quarterbacks coach. I don't think Jason Garrett leaves his cushy job at NBC to come and coach quarterbacks. I could be wrong, but I don't see it. I don't see it. I mean, he coached in the NFL for almost 10 years as a head coach. I mean, a long time. He won a lot of games. I don't see him dropping down to there. Now, maybe one of the questions, and I don't know if he'll answer it or not tomorrow for Saleh, is what is your succession plan? Because he is right about Daboll from this front. This could very well be a 1-year hire. He may be under a 3-year contract. That Paul Karski reported that. But if Cam Ward throws for 4,000 yards and 28 touchdowns next year and the Titans win 9 games, Brian Daboll is probably going to be a head coach next year. That's just reality. But you can't let that scare you from hiring good people. All right, that's part of it, and that's why reportedly Saleh's succession plan and having a succession plan was so impressive to the team. Who that is, what that is, does that involve the offensive coordinator? The quarterbacks coach? Those are good questions, and we have to wait and we have to see on who gets in that spot.
Yeah, and I think that's a great question from Gil, and hopefully something that Robert Saleh is asked tomorrow is, all right, Brian Daboll is your plan. And I love that plan because you are at such a crucial point in Cam Ward's development heading into year 2 that you need somebody that you can trust is going to come in here and continue the growth that we saw throughout his rookie season and hopefully accelerate that. But you do need to have a succession plan because you're right. Brian Daboll, he has the pedigree around the league. There's a reason after getting fired, he was getting a ton of head coaching interviews, even got second interviews a couple of places. Yep. If the Titans offense is good this year, Brian Daboll is probably gone. So I think that Robert Saleh is going to have to show everybody tomorrow. And maybe it's not a name, but talk about what his plan is for if Brian Daboll is taken away as a head coach next year, who is going to be stepping up as the offensive coordinator in waiting.
Look, there's 22 teams that didn't change coaches this year. All right. So, how many coaching changes can we have next year?
Yeah, you're right. You are right. Like, you get that many in 1 year, you would think that you would hope that those ones don't open up 1 year later. It does happen though.
Yeah, I mean,
Looking
well, look, you could see Aaron Glenn getting fired.
right, that's the Jets, so that's one. I could see Zach Taylor with the Bengals for
Bengals,
sure.
sure. He'll be on the hot seat as well. I think whoever the Browns hire is probably on the hot seat. Todd Bowles could be on the hot seat down in Tampa.
You think
If they,
Steichen with the Colts, maybe?
sure, absolutely. I mean, so and by the way, there's no guarantees that all these 10 guys who get hired this year are back next year.
Right, right. Dan Quinn with the Commanders
Yeah,
probably
he
isn't
could be.
super safe.
No, no.
Kevin O'Connell even with the Vikings. So
well,
you're right. Like there are plenty of names out there that could open up, and if Brian Daboll does have a good year, he could end up being
it's turning into hockey, whereas everybody's in and out in 2 years.
right. Right. The patience has gone away in the NFL for everybody.
It has.
Quarterbacks, head coaches, general managers. You don't get much time to figure it out. And
Nope.
so that it does make it a little bit more likely that Brian Daboll could end up being just a 1 year offensive coordinator.
And by the way, the lack of patience for head coaches, I don't have such a hard time with. I really don't, because you've been hired to do this job. You should be prepared for it. And I think I don't think you keep, I had this rant before. You don't keep people who are doing poorly in their jobs.
Yep.
And, most of the time you can see, look, it's not always the head coach's fault. Sometimes, for the cook, the groceries are terrible. That's reality. It's very tough to coach in this league without a quarterback. We all know that. But we also all see coaches where we're just like, this is never going to work. And you just need to pull the plug and move on and eat your money. And Ken Wisenhunt and Brian Callahan are two perfect examples where you ate a ton of money, but you had to do it. You had to go.
Right.
You made a mistake. You made a big mistake, and you just have to admit it and move forward.
Yes, we've said it before. The mistake was not firing Rand Carthon and Brian Callahan. It was hiring them. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to text or call. We'll wrap up hour number one on the other side. More Titans talk coming throughout the show, but did want to check in with Vandy men's basketball. Big win last night over Kentucky.
Wow,
in Memorial Gym.
That was impressive.
What a response from Vandy in their last two games after losing three straight. We'll talk about it coming up next. And again, more Titans talk throughout the show. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Parker Kelly, next man up, 125 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Parker Kelly, alongside you on your Wednesday morning, wrapping up hour number 1. And I promised some Vandy men's basketball talk, but we'll have to push that back at least a little bit. We have some breaking news in the NFL. Adam Schefter reporting the Cleveland Browns are hiring former Ravens offensive coordinator Todd Monken as their next head coach. Monken will turn 60 on February 5th. He stays in the division to become the next head coach in Cleveland. Now John Harbaugh has to find a different offensive coordinator in New York. So another job is filled around the NFL, and that one, not the name I was expecting for Cleveland.
No, I thought they were just going to stick with Jim Schwartz. And, I guess I'm kind of happy for Jim that he maybe gets a chance somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because that job looks like a death sentence. And I'm guessing Todd Monken told them Shedeur was the guy and that he could win with Shedeur. And so they're going to move forward. And maybe he can. Maybe he can. I mean, he's a Pro Bowler after all, right? With 7 touchdowns and 10 interceptions.
He is.
But he was a rookie. And, so there's a lot of work there to be done. But if he can indeed get Shedeur Sanders to actually play like a Pro Bowl quarterback consistently, they're going to suddenly look a lot better. And so, look, they had Kevin Stefanski. He was an offensive guy. They go with another offensive guy this time. Their defense has not been the problem. It'd be interesting to see if Jim stays as defensive coordinator. I'm sure he's still under contract, so he may not have a choice. But yeah, I mean, look, Todd Monken's, I didn't see him for that job. I thought they'd either go with a young guy or Jim. But for him at 60, makes sense. If you want to be a head coach, you may not get another shot.
Yeah, I look at this as we were just talking about what jobs could be open again next year. I think this one might be one of those 1 year where I'm sure there are times as NFL franchises when you have a head coaching opening and there's just not a candidate that screams out at you, this is our guy for the next 10 years. And you have to just go with somebody who you say, hey, we'll give him a shot here. He's been in the,
who is the guy who was before Lovie Smith in Houston? They went back to back, one and done there.
Was it David Culley?
Yes. Yeah. You knew he had
Vandy
no
legend.
Shot. Yeah. So both those guys got one and done. You could see Monken getting one and done.
I think Pete Carroll's another example of, did the Raiders really think Pete Carroll was going to be their long-term solution as head coach? I really don't think so.
He wasn't their short-term solution either.
No, they said, you know what, we'll give him a year. If it's horrible, maybe we're picking first. Guess what? There you go. They've got their quarterback. And now they still haven't hired a head coach. I think the rumors are it's going to be Kubiak from Seattle, who obviously they can't hire until after the Super Bowl. But
and look, if that's who they want, they should absolutely wait. By the way, I know we're talking about the Browns because the Seahawks waited for Mike McDonald, and that worked out pretty darn well.
Well, and what's the other job on the market right now? The Cardinals. That's it, right? It's just those two. I think Vegas will be okay. And
by the way, how many guys dropped out of this Brown search?
At least 3.
At least, yeah.
Mike McDaniel and who was the other who dropped out? It was at least 3 names that I remember saying have withdrawn their name from consideration of the Browns job. So I think it's one of those things where Monken, they bring him in. You're right. Shedeur Sanders probably going to get this year to prove it. Similarly to a Will Levis situation of like, hey, we didn't invest that much in you, but we're going to give you an opportunity to be our starter for this year. And guess what? If he fails, then Monken probably fails, and they'll just clean house next year and go get somebody else. What are you going to
do? Are you going to bench a Pro Bowler? Come on.
The Pro Bowler is the Pro Bowl is so unnecessary anymore. Like, can we just end it? We've got the all-pro teams, right? The all-pro teams are what really matters. That tells you who the best players in the league are. No one wants to watch the Pro Bowl games anymore. It's not even the Pro Bowl, it's the Pro Bowl games. And
to call him a Pro Bowler is ridiculous. It cheapens everybody else who actually made it on the team.
And it's 2 out of 3 years now that you've had Shedeur Sanders and Snoop Huntley make the Pro Bowl. there is no point in the Pro Bowl anymore. It is.
Well, again,
it is
don't call it,
ridiculous.
if you're a replacement, don't call them a Pro Bowler. Just call them like a fill-in or a replacement. Don't give
Right.
them the title. Don't give them the title of Pro Bowler. They didn't deserve it. They didn't deserve it.
And for you could compare it to the MLB All-Star game where even the replacements are called All-Stars. I'm okay with that because guess what? That's mid-season, and usually they don't go that far down the list. But in the AFC, think of how many quarterbacks would have been picked before Shador, but they're all injured. Like almost the entire AFC's quarterbacks are injured or playing in the Super Bowl or just wrapped up their season.
But Lamar's not going to the Pro Bowl. Trevor Lawrence isn't going to the Pro Bowl. Joe Burrow's not going to the Pro Bowl.
Right.
I don't think Josh Allen's going to the Pro Bowl.
I think pretty much everyone else had to say no or was injured before they got to Shador Sanders.
It's silly. Sorry, I got us off topic.
3280 says Shador won the fan vote. Give him credit for that at least.
Great.
Sure. Congratulations, Shador Sanders. You won the fan vote for the Pro Bowl.
By the way, how many fans are that dumb where they voted for him for the Pro Bowl? I'm sorry to call people dumb. That is a dumb vote.
Right. Well, I mean, it's a popularity contest.
Yeah, but it's the Pro Bowl. It's not about popular. It's supposed to be who deserves, who's among the best players in the National Football League.
Again, completely off topic here, but I got to give credit to Tennessee fans and some SEC fans who are trying to vote Charles Bediako into the G League All-Star game right now. I thought that was a phenomenal troll of this dude is now back playing college basketball, but we're going to vote him into the G League All-Star game.
I love pettiness. I do. And that is some really good pettiness.
It was really well done. When I saw that on Twitter, I was like, that is perfect. If he gets selected and he is still playing college basketball. And
it'd be great if he showed up and he wore his Alabama uniform. That would be even better.
And he's playing for at least 9 more days. So we will see how long that lasts. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you want to text or call our phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We will talk some Vandy men's hoops later on in the show. But
sorry.
Hey, breaking news happens when breaking news happens. So Todd Monken is the next head coach of the Cleveland Browns, and we will stick with the NFL on the other side. The Super Bowl is set. We will talk about Patriots and Seahawks, and also the big news yesterday: Bill Belichick, not a first ballot Hall of Famer. We will get into that in hour number 2. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Parker Kelly, next man up. 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 1025, The Game, Jake Lyman, joined by Cory Curtis from News 2, Parker Kelly at the controls, back at the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Lots of Titans talk in the first hour. We will talk more Titans later on in the show, but lots of news around the NFL this week. But let's start, Cory, with the Super Bowl matchup. It is set. The Seahawks and the Patriots will play at Levi's Stadium in Super Bowl 60. And, of course, the Titans tied into this a little bit with Mike Vrabel making the Super Bowl in his first season as the head coach of the Patriots. I had Get Up on here in the hotel room, and Mike Greenberg was going through the 5 people who are the saddest about the Super Bowl matchup, and he had the Titans at number 1 because they fired Mike Vrabel. Did we lose Cory?
He might He might be muted because he's talking and nothing is coming through.
Yeah, we will hopefully get Cory back here soon.
He's just.
Oh, okay. He said, give him. We'll get Cory back in here in a second. He is muted, but hopefully we will have him back here. But yes, the Titans having to deal with the national mocking of firing Mike Vrabel, and if Vrabel's able to win a Super Bowl in year 1, I think you start to have the questions there of man, is that the worst possible scenario for the Titans after firing him 2 years ago? Do we have Cory back now?
He muted himself again. 1 second.
He said still 1 second. So,
all right.
Hey,
we got Cory back. Yeah.
Yes, we got you.
I literally changed nothing. Okay. I literally changed nothing.
It's technology. And the weather and everything has us from Zoom. Usually we're in
Jake, just say it. I'm old, okay?
No,
that's what happens.
Okay,
we're
boomer.
Usually in the phenomenal Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Studios, where everything's made so easy for us. We've got to figure it out on our own now.
Yeah, there we are. I apologize, but I'm here.
No worries. But thoughts on Mike Vrabel? I think Titans fans were dreading it, and now it is here. Mike Vrabel will coach in a Super Bowl in year 1 with New England.
Look, we all knew Mike Vrabel was a good football coach. All right. He knows the rules. He has his teams prepared. He usually gets the most out of what he has to work with. Were there issues at the end of his Titans tenure? Yes. Was it debatable about whether he should have been fired or not? Sure. But he's gone now. He's a good coach. And look, he's a big part of the reason that they're there, but he's not the only reason. Okay. He would, I had somebody who told me the other day that, if Mike Vrabel were still the head coach of the Titans, he would expect them to be in the Super Bowl this year. And I told him he was crazy. Look, he's a good coach. He's not a miracle worker. And, Drake May was a really good piece for him to work with. And Drake May was really good. Now, Drake May wasn't the reason they got to the Super Bowl, because they scored, I think, fewer points than any team, or one of the lowest 2 teams ever to get to the playoffs to get to the Super Bowl. But he didn't lose games, which I think he deserves a ton of credit for as a second-year player. You saw Jarrett Stidham lose a game for the Denver Broncos, and Drake May did not do that. And Vrabel's defense really stepped up in the playoffs. They weren't great during the year, but they've been fantastic here in the postseason. And so he's done a good job, and they've gotten there. And you know what you say? You say congratulations and you move on. And everybody wants to laugh at the Titans. Okay, maybe they made a mistake. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But you can't sit here and cry over it. You just got to try and, would you have been better with Vrabel? Absolutely. You might have won 6. You might have won 6 games a year the last 2 years, or 7, right? But you certainly weren't going to be a playoff contender with what you had, until you got an actual quarterback, running the thing again, and they have that now. And so, the The narrative's going to be what it's going to be. Look, he got what he wants. He's the head coach of the Patriots. You can't tell me that's not what he always wanted. So he's there. He's got a good football team, and congratulations to him. I as a person, I am happy for him. I have no ill will.
Yeah, no, and I think any Titans fan who says that it doesn't sting a little bit is lying of looking and seeing that, hey, that's the guy that you thought was going to get you to a Super Bowl, and
the fact that you've replaced him with Brian Callahan. I mean, that stings. Right. That stings.
But you're 100% right in that. I mean, there is no world where Mike Vrabel, with the pantry that was left for him heading into 2024, even if he didn't get fired and had the last 2 years, this team is still bad. They're not as bad, but they're still bad.
And he was partially responsible for that pantry. I mean, he picked some of those groceries.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, now he picked the groceries in New England and did a much better job. And that's really the way it goes for most GMs. You hit some, you miss some. But he missed a lot in Nashville. We've seen a lot of people miss a lot in Nashville the last few years.
Well, I mean, you want to blame the poor roster on something. It's 3 straight drafts where you got absolutely nothing out of it. I mean, is it Chigakonkwo is the only player left from the 2020, 2021, 2022 drafts?
He's not left. He's gone. I mean, he's not under contract.
Well, right. I guess that's true. He's not going to be under contract much longer.
Some of those guys have been helping other teams. We do need to be fair about that. Elijah Molden is playing elsewhere. Christian Fulton is playing elsewhere. And look, I understand why they cut ties with Christian Fulton. He could not stay on the field, and his play had dropped off significantly. I did not agree with the Callahan-Carthon decision to move on from Elijah Molden. I thought that was ridiculous. I thought the moving on from the running back at Michigan was ridiculous.
Hassan Haskins.
Because now you just wasted a draft pick on the same exact guy. No, I mean, they did. They wasted
you're right.
6th or 7th.
He was a 6th round pick.
Yeah, you used a draft pick to replace a guy you had on your roster.
It made
0 sense.
He was a better special teamer too. Hassan Haskins was.
He was a core special teams player.
So
there were players that we talk about that flame out who are still playing in the NFL. It's not like they're all not in the NFL, but yes, largely those draft classes were all massive fails because there are no pillars on this football team from those draft classes. And you need to have pillars. I mean, we can even go to this year's draft class and guys may not be stars or whatever, but we view some of them as pillars of the future of this team.
For sure. And I think the last 2 drafts, you hope J.C. Latham is a bookend tackle for you. He's shown flashes at times, but you need to see more. I thought Paul Kaharski made a good point earlier of Tavondre Sweat. How does he fit in with the Robert Saleh defense? That's maybe something that will be asked of him, maybe not tomorrow, but soon, of how do the pieces that are already here fit into what you want to do with your defense? So lots to figure out there, but the Vrabel stuff, again, I think you got to take yes, it would be a better situation here if he was still around, but this team was not prepared roster-wise to compete for a playoff spot either of the last 2 years. And guess what? Even if you don't fire Vrabel in 2023, if he misses the playoffs in 2024, does he get fired then? Same thing this year. Yeah. At this point, what I keep saying is that he never was going to have a leash long enough that he was going to get this team back to being a contender.
Well, along those lines, does Will Levis develop better under Mike Vrabel that year than he did under Brian Callahan?
Maybe.
Because that's the only hope you got. That's the only hope you got. Because if you win 6 games a year for the next 2 years, who's your quarterback? I mean, because you're not drafting Cam Ward. I mean,
right.
So
that's a good point.
I don't know. Now maybe they're in last year's. Well, no, they wouldn't have been in last year's draft cycle because they were going with Will Levis, and so or 2 years ago. So it's so they would, and that's not to say it was the right thing to do because you got Cam Ward because of it. I'm just saying you weren't going to win with a quarterback, and I don't know what the solution was if Will Levis wasn't going to pan out.
Right, and you can't act like Oh, if you didn't fire Vrabel, you'd be in the Super Bowl right now. That's just not how it works. And
no, that's not how it works. That's ridiculous.
But Vrabel is in the Super Bowl taking on the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks are a favorite in this game, I think, as they should be. And we can talk more about the matchup on the other side. Also, I was really excited for this year when the Chiefs were out of the playoffs because it was we're finally going to get something new in the Super Bowl. And then, of course, the Patriots just go back and they're the team that replaces them. Ridiculous.
But we have two new quarterbacks.
We do. It's Drake May and it's
Sam
Darnold.
Who's not an MVP finalist, by the way.
You stick with the same 7 AFC teams that have been in the Super Bowl since 2002. Yeah. It stays that way. No one gets added. And the Broncos would have been in there too, so I guess it's not that big of a difference. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to text or call. Continuing to talk Super Bowl on the other side, and then we'll get into Bill Belichick not being a first ballot Hall of Famer. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Parker Kelly, next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Corey Curtis from News 2, Parker Kelly alongside you. Hope everyone having a great start to their Wednesday. And again, hope everybody staying safe and warm out there with the winter weather. We're looking at the Super Bowl 60, coming up in about a week and a half from Santa Clara. And although it is different, it is still the same. The Patriots back in the Super Bowl, even with if it is with that rematch of Super Bowl 49, one of the great Super Bowls of all time, with Malcolm Butler getting the interception at the goal line. This is now, there's been one Super Bowl that did not include the Chiefs or Patriots since Super Bowl 50, which was Broncos-Panthers in Santa Clara. That was the Rams and Bengals back in 2022. But we will get Patriots-Seahawks. Seahawks, I believe, 4-point favorite was what I saw. Which
I've seen between 4 and 5.5. Yeah,
I think that's about right. The Seahawks defense, the way that they've been playing, although the Patriots defense has played well too, I think we are going to get a good game. I would lean Seahawks right now, just based on, Sam Darnold, more experience, Drake May. Sam Darnold, even though he hasn't played in the Super Bowl, he has been on a team for a Super Bowl. He was on that 49ers team a couple of years ago too. So I lean Seahawks, but nothing would surprise me. I think this is going to be a fun one.
I think if the Patriots are going to win, Vrabel has to massively outcoach Mike Macdonald. I think that the Seahawks are dramatically better on both sides of the ball, and I expect Seattle to win by double digits in this game.
Wow. Okay, so you're big on Seattle.
Go. I am big on Seattle. I think I would have said the same thing about the Rams. I think they're both significantly better than this Patriots team.
No,
when you look at what they've got on offense, when you look at what they've got up front on defense, I don't think it's comparable.
I do agree with you. I think Seattle, the NFC as a whole, was a better conference this year. You just look at the teams on that side. I know San Francisco didn't stay healthy, but that's a team that, if they had all the pieces, I think significantly better than anybody in the AFC this year. There wasn't really a complete team in the AFC, which left that void for a team like the Broncos or the Patriots, with their defenses playing well and the quarterback, like you said. Drake May didn't win any of those playoff games for the Patriots, but he didn't lose it.
Yeah.
And that's honestly, that's kind of been the Vrabel formula when he wins playoff games, right? Like, you look at the Ravens and Patriots games for the Titans that got them to the AFC Championship game. Did Tannehill throw for over 100 yards in either of those games?
No, he did not.
That's the recipe for Mike Vrabel in the playoffs is, hey, run the football, don't turn the ball over, and play good defense. And it's worked when the quarterback hasn't lost him the game. And as we saw in 2022, your quarterback throws 3 picks. That strategy isn't going to work out all the time.
Well, even when you played the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship, Ryan Tannehill was not able, in the second half when you needed him to step up and give you a chance because the Chiefs were coming on, he couldn't do it. And, Vrabel has relied on defense and a strong run game and turning the ball over. He has not been able to rely on a quarterback to win him these games. And, Drake May hasn't had to win him these games to this point. But, this game, I don't think he can lean back. I think, Drake May is going to need to have a Drake May kind of game. He might have to run for 1 touchdown and throw for 2, but they're going to have to score points to win in this game. They're not going to be able to hide behind their running game in this one. They're going to have to cut it loose. And that's why I say I don't know that they've got the weapons to do it with. I mean, Hunter Henry, Austin Hooper, Stephon Diggs, these guys are all playing well late in their career, but they're not the players that they were early in their career. Mac Hollins is a nice role piece for your football team. Boutte is a guy who flashes. Some of these guys have got to step up and have a dude game. I mean, that's all there is to it. They got to step up and have and just be like, kind of like Juwan Jennings was that last year in the Super Bowl?
Right.
A couple years ago.
Yeah.
2 years ago when we thought he might be the Super Bowl MVP. He had a dude game. and they're going to need one or two of those guys to step up and do it. They've been hiding Travion Henderson here. They need to use him. They need his speed out there and to get him the football.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Drake May, you look at what he's had to do in these 3 games. Chargers game, defense gives up 3 points. You really didn't have to do much to win that one. Texans game, CJ Stroud gives the ball away and gives you a short field 4 times. Easy. I mean, you take advantage of those opportunities and you win the football game. And then the Broncos game, you get the short field on the Jarrett Stidham fumble. You cash in for a touchdown.
You got a miniature field. They got the ball in like the 7. Okay.
Yes, right. One of the shortest possible fields you could get. And he runs it in for the touchdown, and that's the only touchdown you get, but it was enough to win the game. I think you're right. With the way Sam Darnold and Clint Kubiak and the weapons they have, that Seattle offense is clicking right now. Kenneth Walker played great in the NFC Championship game. I said it Monday. I'll say it again.
He's going to be a free agent, by the way.
He is. And I like Breece Hall. I also like Kenneth Walker. If you're looking to upgrade from Tony Pollard, I think both those guys are options. But Jackson Smith and Jigba, just an absolute dude out there. I mean,
against Gonzalez, you got to think they're going to match.
Right. That's going to be a really fun matchup with those two.
Yeah. And I would expect Vrabel to bracket him. I would. Because he does. I mean, we saw that before when he was the Titans head coach. He did not want that guy to beat them. But then what kind of game is Cooper Kupp going to have?
Rashid Shaheed
and Rashid Shaheed, yeah. So I mean, if you want take the long shot Super Bowl MVP bet, Rashid Shaheed, Cooper Kupp, maybe they slide in because of a bracket on Jackson Smith and Jigba. But either way, Sam Darnold probably wins it if one of those two guys has a big enough day.
Yeah, you look, if we're comparing it to that 2019 AFC Championship game with Kansas City, who made the big plays on offense for that team? It was Sammy Watkins. Like Tyreek Hill, if I'm remembering correctly, didn't have a huge day, but Sammy Watkins got loose a couple of times. So maybe that is what ends up happening. Shaheed, that first play from Sam Darnold down the sideline, I don't understand what exactly the plan was there defensively. And again, like Chris Shula, I don't think being being a head coach, you have to be great defensively. But it was 3rd and 7, if I'm remembering correctly, and they had Williams pressing Shaheed at the line for absolutely no reason, and then Shaheed just ran right by him for 40 yards. I do wonder if maybe he ends up being an X factor.
Well, they were. I'm sure they were planning on the pass rush getting there. With the Rams front, that's got to be the plan. But that's the danger when you play a guy like Shaheed, who's got all sorts of speed and he gets open in the open field, and the quarterback's got to be able to put it on him. So it's one thing to call the play; it's another having your guys execute it and make you look like a chucklehead if you don't. But you're right; the Seahawks have more than Jackson Smith and Jigba, and when you've got aging Stephon Diggs. Kyle Williams is coming on, but what do you have, 7 catches this season?
Yeah, I think a lot of them were for touchdowns.
Well, okay, a lot of 7 might be 3.
Right.
But I mean, they're not stacked with weaponry.
Yeah, Kyle Williams, who was a guy a lot of Titans fans wanted. Yeah, so he had 10 catches and had 3 touchdowns.
Yeah. And I like Kyle Williams. And look, he's at the end of his rookie year. He's probably not the same player he was at the beginning of the year. Maybe he has a dude game for them. Maybe this is his breakout performance. We've seen it before. I mean, remember Timmy Smith long ago for the Washington Redskins. Some guys pop in the Super Bowl. I guess that's my point, is that the Patriots have to have somebody pop, because I don't think that the guys that they have, their main guys, Hunter Henry and Stephon Diggs, are good enough to beat Seattle.
Yeah, I'm excited to see this one. I'm with you. I think the Seahawks have the edge, but you are right. If Mike Vrabel significantly outcoaches Mike McDonald, there's a shot for the Patriots to win the game. And Drake May also has to have a big game too.
Yes, and by the way, Drake May put up MVP numbers with that crew. So, he's done it before, and his legs have been an X factor. And how do they deal with that? I think there's a lot of pressure on Ernest Jones in this game. He's the middle linebacker they got from the Titans in the trade. And he was an excellent player in LA. He was an excellent player for the Titans, and he is now an excellent player for the Seattle Seahawks. But that is going to be how they defense Drake May in the off schedule runs is going to be really paramount in this game.
Yeah, you're right. There are going to be former Titans getting plenty of looks as getting Super Bowl rings, no matter what. Ernest Jones on the side for the Seahawks, and then on the other side for the Patriots, it'll be Harold Landry, Robert Spillane, Dr. Jack Gibbons. So there will be former Titans getting their Super Bowl rings one way or another. 615.
I think Otis Reese is on the practice squad.
Yeah, there you go. So if the Patriots win, it might be like half of the Titans 2023 roster who are going to end up getting Super Bowl rings.
And I'm happy for those guys if they do. I mean, like the fact that Harold Landry gets to play in a Super Bowl, I think is great. I mean,
yes,
the guy was a very good player for this team, and I am really excited that he gets to play on the NFL's biggest stage. He was, he wasn't the most talkative guy, but he's a guy who showed up every week, except for the year he tore his ACL. But he showed up every week. I know everybody picked apart his analytics, but I didn't see anybody else from the Titans sacking the quarterback. So he was a good player. Good for him.
100%. Would be happy to see Harold Honor Landry get himself a Super Bowl ring if the Patriots were to win. 615-737.
You were like 12 when that happened.
I was not. I was like 16 or 17. Our phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You can text or call 615-737-1025. This is another Super Bowl for the Patriots. They've won 6 of them. All of them were with Bill Belichick, who is not going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. We found that out yesterday. We'll talk about it on the other side. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Parker Kelly with you. Hope you're having a great start to your Wednesday. We are looking at the news from last night that Bill Belichick, 8-time Super Bowl champion, 6 times as a head coach, is not a first ballot Hall of Famer. He fell short of the 40 necessary votes out of 50 needed for induction into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in his first year. There's reports that Bill Polian was telling voters that he deserves to serve a year as penance for Spygate and Deflategate. But somehow, a guy who is widely considered maybe the greatest coach in NFL history is not a first ballot Hall of Famer. I could not believe it when I saw that come across on Twitter last night. But
I was stunned.
I mean, it doesn't matter. He's going to get in there next year, but man, if there's anybody who you feel should be deserving of being a first ballot Hall of Famer as a coach, it has to be Bill Belichick.
Well, he does have 6 Super Bowl rings, but He was caught in the biggest cheating scandal for a coach that we have seen in a very long time. And I really think the NFL glazed that, and we didn't see just how bad and rampant it really was. And it's like the Baseball Hall of Fame voters. They don't forget stuff. And I'm stunned by it. I'm stunned by it. But when I sit back and I go, okay, are there enough people who are going to be that upset about cheating where they're going to put him in the penalty box for a year or 2, wherever it is? Sure. I see it now. Would I have voted him in? Probably. I mean, someone would have really had to have made the case to me, and maybe I could have been swayed. I hesitate to put him in the greatest coach of all time. He won 6 Super Bowls with Tom Brady. Okay. And what did he do? What did he do with the Browns, and what did he do after Brady left? Not a whole heck of a lot. Where Andy Reid, okay, no matter who his quarterback has been, has won a ton of football games. Nick Foles, what was his name? Kevin Kolb, Donovan McNabb, Jared Goff. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. He wins. And you could say, well, this year he didn't. Okay, this year is the anomaly for Andy Reid. I got a whole lot of years to point to as the anomaly for Bill Belichick. That doesn't take away from the fact that he's first ballot Hall of Famer, and he does have 6 Super Bowl rings. But it also, again, I do not think you can tell the story of Bill Belichick without talking about the greatest scandal of our time, cheating scandal among coaches in our time. That's part of his legacy. It's bad.
Yeah, and I've seen the point made of the Hall of Fame vote isn't a mechanism to punish Bill Belichick, but you look at the Baseball Hall of Fame voting, and I think you make a good point that you look at the names that are up there, and Barry Bonds. You could argue that Barry Bonds, even without the steroids, might have been one of the greatest baseball players of all time.
He was a Hall of Famer before he went on the juice.
Right, exactly. Like obviously, you could say the home run record is tainted because who knows if he would have hit all that many if it wasn't for the steroids.
I know. But I know he would not have. Okay.
But the steroids didn't help him with his bat to ball skills, and he was a great defensive outfielder too, especially.
Okay, hold on a second. Hold on a second. We're going to get into a different conversation here.
No, all I'm saying, I'm trying to make the comparison of Bill Belichick and Barry Bonds. You could say the same, that both of them are Hall of Famers, even if you take away the accolades that had to do with the cheating. But the MLB Hall of Fame does continue to punish Barry Bonds. I guess the NFL Hall of Fame voters decided to take that upon themselves this year.
Well, if you will look at the MLB Hall of Fame voters, who gets into the Hall of Fame? The guys who admitted they did it, right? Those guys got a pass. The Jason Giambis and the Andy Pettitts and all those guys. We don't talk about those guys. Those are the guys who admitted they did it. It's the Roger Clemens and the Rafi Palmeiros and the Barry Bonds who sit here and act like they didn't do anything wrong. They're going to be punished as long as they continue to be obstinate about what they actually did. And Jake, I'm going to totally disagree what you have to say about bat to ball skills. Okay. What are guys hitting now that they are not on steroids? Is there anybody hitting 340 anymore? No. Is there anybody hitting 70 homers a year anymore? No. It absolutely helped every aspect of what they were doing. Okay. They turned doubles into homers. They turned fly balls into balls off the wall. It helped everything. It juiced every number that they had.
No, I understand that yes, being able to hit the ball further increases the average. It increases your slugging, your home runs, your RBIs, all that kind of stuff. But he was a great hitter before steroids, and hitting the baseball
didn't strike out much, but that didn't make him a great player.
No, but I'm saying the ability,
play.
The ability to square up a baseball is not impacted by steroids. Yes, he hit the ball further, but he was still at like.
You don't think it affects your bat speed?
Sure, yeah, it affects your bat speed. It like your exit velocities will go up, but he was a great hitter before the steroids, and steroids don't help you hit the ball better. Like it does not. I want to clarify. No. It makes you hit the ball harder. It does not make it easier to hit the baseball.
Well, I will wholeheartly disagree with you.
You think it is easier to hit the baseball when you are when you're on steroids?
I think when you are faster and stronger and you can react to the ball quicker. Yes, I do.
I guess the bat speed is one thing that you could point to, but
you can get around on stuff you couldn't get around on before.
You agreed with me that he was a Hall of Famer before the steroids too. So that was the point I was trying to make. We can argue semantics of what became easier after the steroids all day.
I've heard what you said for a long time, and it has always rubbed me the wrong way. And so the moment you brought it up, like the hair on my back just stood up like a cat. I was like, let's do this, Jake.
No, and I understand. You do look at the numbers now, and no one is doing what those guys were doing back then. Sammy Sosa,
not even close.
Like
you can hit 270 now and be an all-star. Back then, if you wouldn't hit 320, everybody was like, "What's wrong with you?"
Well, and they also have changed the way that they value things in baseball, right? Like, guys who hit 350 used to be more valuable. But now teams are looking for guys who will hit right. They're like, if you hit 240, but you hit 40 home runs a year, we're fine with that.
What was Barry Bonds' average when he was hitting 70 homers? I don't think it was 240.
No, he wasn't. He was.
These guys
were
all
ridiculous.
over 300. Yeah, they were all over 300.
2438 says y'all clearly don't understand how steroids work. LMAO. We're disagreeing about it, so we both can't be misunderstanding it.
Sure, we're both stupid.
Let's look. So do we know what exact year it happened in? When did he start taking steroids? I guess he never admitted it.
I think if you looked at his stats, there's probably a pretty clear demarcation line. I would go after Ken Griffey. I would go after Ken Griffey exploded.
I'm going to go with 2001, 2002, when he went from about a career 300 hitter to hitting 328, 370, 341, 362 in 4 straight years. So we'll go with that.
That didn't help him at all. Didn't help him at all.
But I think you also have to look at the home runs there and say, all right, he was hitting 33, 32, 40. He went and hit 49, 73, 46 in those years. So
and how many walks did he have those years?
A lot.
So he's increasing his home run total and not getting near as many pitches to hit.
Right. He had 232 walks in 2004. That is such a ridiculous number.
And how many
to 41 strikeouts. He hit 45.
Yeah.
Well, here's the point I'll make to you is that he was never a high strikeout guy, though. Like,
no,
he struck out. He played 153 games in 1991 with Pittsburgh and struck out 73 times. He struck out 93 times in 2001 with San Francisco in the same amount of games. So that's the point I'm making, is that he he was a great hitter. Yes, the steroids helped him hit it further, but that doesn't take away the fact that he was a great hitter.
No, it doesn't, but it made him
anyway.
A better hitter.
We've gotten completely off the rails. The comparison we're making here is with Bill Belichick. Does the cheating bar you from being a Hall of Famer? And Bill Belichick is not going to be held out of the
coach. No,
right. That's where we're going. Eventually. Is that Bill Belichick was a great coach and has been a great coach despite the cheating scandals. You can make the case of it was all Brady, but look back to what he did with the Giants defenses when he was the defensive coordinator. He is a great football.
Yes, okay, but are we putting him in as a coordinator or are we putting him in as a head coach?
It's the whole body of work.
Okay, but because I bristle at that. I mean, I do. I bristle at well, but even if it was Brady, he was a good defensive coordinator. Look, there's a lot of good defensive coordinators. Look, if I had Lawrence Taylor and Carl Banks and all those crew, I'd be a good defensive coordinator. All right. And I'm not trying to take away from the guy.
Look at Belichick's first Super Bowl. What was Tom Brady that year?
No,
he was the replacement for Drew Bledsoe, and Bill Belichick's team was able to get them a Super Bowl. That was not Brady.
No, I agree with you. That was peak Belichick. I think there was 2 years later, they came out in the opener on Monday Night Football, and they opened the game with Brady throwing 21 passes in a row. And it was just it was Belichick completely flipping the script on what he was. And that was really impressive as a head coach. And when you point to that stuff, I go, yes, that was really, really good coaching. And by the way, yes, he did. His staff was part of the reason Brady did ascend to being Brady. Now, the end of his career, that roster was not near as good. And Brady cashed a lot of checks. A lot of checks with that football team. But, there is time where you look at Belichick and you go, yeah, he was a big part of the difference. That's why I say, is he a Hall of Fame coach? Yes. Greatest of all time? I'm not going to go there.
And that's a fair argument to make. I think you can make the point that, Bill Belichick definitely does not have 6 Super Bowls without Tom Brady. I think that's 100% fair. But does Brady have 7 Super Bowls without Bill Belichick? I think you could say no. He probably still has more than Bill Belichick does.
Maybe.
I don't know if Tom Brady gets all 7 without Bill Belichick. So that one's a little bit tighter. Bill Belichick.
How old was he when he won the last one?
Well, here's what 3260 says, and I think this is a good point. He says, I like to break it down. The first 3 Super Bowls were all Belichick. The last 15 years was all Brady. Belichick was a jerk. He burned a lot of bridges. So I think that's how you can look at it, is the early years, it was all Belichick. Not all Belichick, but I think you give more of the credit to Bill Belichick. But you can tell, the Super Bowls against the Falcons and the Rams and the Seahawks, it's that's you got to give Brady a whole lot of credit for the wins that he
had. Yeah, Tom bailed him out against the Falcons. That's for sure. And that last Super Bowl, I mean, he's the only reason they were even in it.
Right. The Rams won.
Yeah. I mean, he willed them to that thing. So, yeah.
615-73. We'll talk about it more on the other side. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Got off on a large tangent there talking baseball.
It was all about cheating. It's framework of cheating.
Right. It was the start of the conversation made sense, right? To have that comparison between Bonds and Belichick. We went very far onto the baseball side, but we will talk more about Belichick as he is not going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer despite the 6 Super Bowls as a head coach. 615-737-1025. Our phone and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Parker Kelly. Next man up, 1025 The Game. The question needs to be asked, did Carrie Underwood's back-to-headlight skills get better after she started taking steroids? 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Parker Kelly, next man up, 1025 The Game. Having the conversation around Bill Belichick not being a first-ballot Hall of Famer. The news came out last night. He did not get the 40 of 50 votes necessary to get in his first year. Seth Wickersham has been all over this, along with Don Van Natta Jr. In an article they put out yesterday, there were reports about Bill Polian telling his fellow voters that Bill Belichick needs to serve penance for his Spygate and Deflategate cheating scandals. Here is an excerpt from one of Seth Wickersham and Don Van Natta Jr.'s stories. In an interview with ESPN on Tuesday night, Polian denied telling fellow voters that Belichick should serve a one-year penance for Spygate, but he said he heard his fellow voters float that idea. Later on, he also says, Polian added that he could not remember with 100% certainty if he voted for Belichick, saying he was 95% sure he voted for the coach and a player, most likely L.C. Greenwood.
That's a cop-out.
That is so funny. I'm not 100% sure who I voted for. Isn't this something
that's a lie.
That really has to be a joke from Bill Polian, because you spent a lot of time on this decision. At least I would hope, right?
You know who you voted for.
You know who you voted for, and if you're not saying, if you're saying I'm not 100% sure I voted for Bill Belichick, then you didn't. You just don't want to be the villain who everybody points to and says you kept Bill Belichick from being a first ballot Hall of Famer. Like
the whole penance thing, he's either a Hall of Famer or he's not. Okay, he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. So is his penalty is he's a second ballot Hall of Famer?
Right.
I guess you've publicly shamed him right now. That's what this is. It's a public pantsing of the guy. But in the end, is it worth it? Is it worth it to you? And I guess it is. I mean, I have a lot of reverence for the Hall of Fame and how difficult it is to get in there. I mean, look at him. Bud Adams isn't in there. It's crazy. He's one of the co-founders of the AFL, and he's not in there. It's tough to get in there. There's a lot of great players who are. I mean, Eddie George can't get a sniff. Guy rushed for 10,000 yards.
Yeah,
it's tough to get in there. So I do have a lot of reverence for it. And again, I don't think you can gloss over the cheating because it was significant. And whether it was all Tom Brady or it wasn't, he's got 6 Super Bowl rings. You can't deny that. You can't.
Yeah.
By the way, I looked up his numbers. Okay, what year was Brady's first year as starting quarterback? 2003.
2002, maybe. I think because 2001 was that first Super Bowl, right?
Okay, so 2001. So before 2001 as a head coach, 6-10, 7-9, 7-9, 11-5, 5-11, 5-11. I mean, that's 6 rough years.
No, there's no debate to be made that because during the dynasty it was always, is it Brady? Yeah. Is it Belichick? Who deserves more credit? And it's clearly it was Brady. But
it's a good marriage. Right.
Right. But Belichick needs credit for that too. It's not everybody.
Sure. Well, and that's why I said he's the head coach. There's plenty of head coaches who've destroyed a good thing. Okay. He tried. He wanted to get rid of him, go to Jimmy Garoppolo. Okay.
He did.
He did want to do that. That needs to be said. But you can't argue with the 6 rings. You just can't. And putting him on the bench this year is petty.
Yes, I agree with that. And I think you make a good point of he's either a Hall of Famer or he's not. You shouldn't be using your vote as a Hall of Fame voter to, dish out punishment that you feel is deserving. Be consistent. If you think based on a guy's body of work as a pro football coach, player, whatever, that he is a Hall of Famer, stay consistent. If you think he's not, stay consistent. But it's going to be funny when it's unanimous next year that Bill Belichick gets in. Yeah. And it basically was just, hey, we wanted to, quote unquote, punish him because he had 2 cheating scandals during his time in the NFL.
Yeah. And again, they can do that. That's their choice. And if they think they're making a stand and making a statement, I guess good for them.
Right.
They've got everybody talking about it. So, good for them. To me, Belichick didn't need to be pantsed. He's kind of pantsed himself the last 5 years.
Right. That's a very good
since
point.
Brady left and what's gone on with North. I mean, the guy's been humbled. I don't think there's any question about that. But if you want to make that stand and you have, by the way, earned the honor of being a Hall of Fame voter, they just don't hand those out like gum. Okay. Then I guess so. I PK, because PK's a voter. I think he also wrote that he would like the guys who said no to justify it so people would understand it. And I think that is reasonable. I always publish my Heisman vote, and I always stand behind my Heisman vote even when people don't agree with it. And believe me, people say awful things to me, and that's fine. It's my opinion. Okay. And if it's your opinion that he needs to sit out for a year, explain it. Just explain it. And, people would have, they may not agree with you, but I think they might have a little more respect for you for standing up for your stance.
No, I 100% agree that if you're going to make that vote and you're going to try and, like you said, pants him and punish him, then you should be able to stand up and defend it. And maybe we'll see that in the coming days. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. When we come back, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter Teron Davenport is going to join us live from Mobile, Alabama. He was not able to do the show tomorrow as he is traveling. So we wanted to get TD's thoughts on Brian Daboll, the Senior Bowl, and much more. We will do that coming up next. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis from News 2, Parker Kelly. Final hour on this Wednesday, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. We are expecting to be joined by Teron Davenport from Mobile, Alabama, as he is down there at the Senior Bowl. So we will hopefully be joined shortly by TD. But Cory, Senior Bowl is rolling along down there, and that always kind of means the start of draft season. I was disappointed to see that a lot of the big names did drop out at the last minute after accepting invites. Your Reuben Baines, David Bailey, but you're still going to get a good look. The scouting department for the Titans is down there, going to get a good look at some guys who may be day 2, day 3 type of targets in one of the cooler environments that you get around draft season.
Well, to me, that's what the Senior Bowl is all about. It's not about rounds 1, 2, and 3. It's about rounds 4 through 7.
Right.
And finding the guys that have the traits that you like, saying that I think this guy is more than other people because of this trait. This guy is developing. I think with this, he can become this. Who shows you that they're coachable? Who shows you that they really want to be great? Who shows you that, hey, this guy is a heck of a player doing this, but if he gets just 10 pounds heavier and a little bit stronger, he's going to be a handful. And so I think that's really, and I could point to guys that the Titans have found. Tajay Sharp was a guy that shined at the Senior Bowl,
right?
And Tajay wasn't a good player, but he's a guy who played a lot. It wasn't a great player, I should say. He was a decent player and played a lot for the Titans, and they needed him when he came in, and he was a guy that they found down at the Senior Bowl. And so I think you can really find people down there. I think for a guy like Diego Pavia, it's a chance to once again show that being 5'9" isn't a death sentence. So that's one of the things I want to ask TD about is what is the buzz about Pavia? Is it the 5'9" or is it the level of play?
I was going to say too, I wanted to get his thoughts on Pavia because Diego, a lot was put out there about him being 5'9", and I just want to ask the question: do people not understand that that's what schools do everywhere in almost every sport? Like listed
no one
heights
thought he was
are
6
almost
feet tall.
Never accurate, right?
No one thought he was 6 feet tall.
Maybe you thought 5'11", but he's 5'9 3/4". It's not. He's 2 inches shorter than they listed him. They were acting like he was taking a 6-inch roundup there. I mean, he's 5'9".
I'm 6 feet tall. I knew he was not 5'11".
Right. So I get it. That's not typically a height that has success as a quarterback at the NFL level, right? But people were acting like it's this crazy realization that, oh my goodness, he's been lying that he's 6 feet tall. Every single sport in college athletics, your listed heights are almost never actually accurate.
What was Charles Barkley's listed height at Auburn? Probably like 6'7".
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, he's like
6'4". Yeah, I don't know. Right. I mean, and I've heard stories of some basketball teams will list their players shorter than they actually are, so that maybe they get a little bit of an extra
catch them by surprise
element of surprise. When they go out there.
I haven't seen those.
Right. Most of the time, they list them taller than they actually are.
Yeah.
That's typically what it is. But the Senior Bowl is going on down there in Mobile, and Diego Pavia is down there trying to make his case to be a draft pick. I would still probably put him mid-day 3. That's kind of where I would expect him to go. But you get the opportunity there to meet with scouts, and I know he'll probably be at the combine, get to talk with some teams as well. I think his interviews are going to be a lot more important than what he actually does on the field.
Well, I mean, look, he is showing down at the Senior Bowl he can throw the football. Because I've had some people tell me he doesn't have the arm for it. He can sling the ball. I mean, he made a big time throw down the sideline yesterday. That was just a dot. And so, he can throw the ball, but 5'9" is 5'9". Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, those are two guys that are in the 5'9", 5'10" range and have had some success in the National Football League. But I think the interviews are important, but like with any quarterback, I think getting with the right coach is also going to be important. I think, if he gets with a guy like Sean Payton or Jim Harbaugh, I think that's a good setup for him. I mean, those are guys who will look to utilize what he does well. And, because I think when he comes in, he'll be viewed as kind of the dual threat guy. You can bring him in the backfield with your quarterback or in at slot, and they'll look to do some things with him. I could be wrong. They could just play him at quarterback and just develop him that way. But I would anticipate the team that drafts him having a plan to utilize his gifts, because he is a tenacious player who has quick feet. He is a broad-based player. He's not like Jaden Daniels or Marcus Mariota or any of these long, lanky quarterbacks. He's stout. He's strong. And he can run the football in tight spaces. And so I think you're going to look for people to utilize that. Maybe like if Matt LaFleur lets Malik Willis walk to, say, Miami to go try and be their starters. I mean, we saw what he did with Malik. Maybe he brings in Diego to fill a similar kind of role and play a similar kind of game.
Right. I think you mentioned put him in the backfield, put him in the slot. I mean, Taysom Hill, very different physical bigger guy than Diego Pavia, but I think there could be a role like that out for him. Sure. He is a really gifted player. He just may not be able to be your stereotypical starting quarterback in the NFL, but there are ways that you can use him as well. So we'll see with Diego. The big thing with Senior Bowl practices is always the one-on-ones that I love to watch. And we got to see a couple of clips out there yesterday. The big one was Derek Moore from Michigan just completely bulldozing a tackle in the pass rush one-on-ones. And those shouldn't be a big deal when it comes to draft evaluation, but it is something that you can use to separate yourself this week. Of the tape is going to decide for the most part where you're going to end up being drafted, but being live in front of these evaluators and being able to put a rep like that sits at the top of those evaluators' minds as they head back to their respective teams, that could make you a lot of money just having a couple of good reps in these one-on-one drills.
What's your compete level?
Right.
How do you react to being in the spotlight? Because they are in the spotlight. The whole circle is around those guys, and everybody's hooting and hollering, and they know everybody's watching. All right. What physical traits can you show off in that moment? And if you show off just overwhelming superior brute force or speed, everybody's going to notice, because it's, usually there's a million guys on the field and you're trying to watch a few things, but now's the one time when everybody is watching you. All eyes are on you. This is your chance to make your big impression. So I agree with you. I think it's absolutely important. It's not everything, but it's important. I mean, I guarantee you he went up a few rings on everybody's board when they saw that.
Yeah.
Okay. I need to see more. This is worthy of seeing more.
Right. It's a separator, right? Like, I think when you look at the draft board, there's so many guys that end up being picked. It's over 250.
Yeah.
It can be tough to separate the 18th best defensive tackle from the 19th best defensive tackle. This is where you can separate yourself. Yesterday, I think the guy who won the day, and if we can talk to TD, I want to get his thoughts. Texas Tech defensive tackle Lee Hunter apparently was just dominant all over the field. That's a guy I've seen sneaking into first-round mocks, so maybe he's one of those guys from the Senior Bowl that shows up as a day 2 pick and maybe leaves as somebody that's going to end up going on Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, and that's always good for teams like the Titans, who are picking high in the second round, that some other good players are going to get shuffled down. But, that's the point of these games, right?
Yep.
It's for guys who may not be, labeled number 1s or number 2s or number 3s to come in and go against players of that caliber and show I am him. You just need to watch me. Because a lot of guys, especially, look, there are scouts that specialize in interior play, so they do that. But,
right.
There are guys who maybe aren't flashy, but they're just so steady that they don't get all of the accolades. but then you get him in a one-on-one scenario, and you're like, well, darn, that dude can really play. And so yeah, I mean that's the whole purpose, and it's a chance for guys who also, by the way, maybe they weren't in the best situation on their team. Maybe they were a left tackle with a lousy left guard next to them, and they were constantly trying to make up for that. It's your ability to stand on your own as a player and not have to. I don't want to say worry about the team, but you're not there for the team. You're there to show who you are.
615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to text or call. On the text line, on the YouTube chat, Big Ed says that Pavia's issue is not measurables, it's his personality. For a dude that is 5 years away from AARP, he is a bit raw emotionally. Guys, Diego Pavia is 23 years old. Like, he is younger than Joey Aguilar, I want to say. I get it. Diego was able to win a temporary restraining order to get himself an extra year of eligibility, but it's not because he's old. It's just because he played too many years.
and just because you don't like him doesn't mean his personality isn't something that other teams love. Okay. The guy who will not take no for an answer, the guy who is always unafraid, the guy who elevates his team, those are very attractive traits. Okay. So yes, the interview is important. People want to get a feel for what he really is. They've seen, the periphery stuff, but I think he'll do even better when he gets in front of them. Because, I mean, just, listen to what anybody at Vanderbilt has to say about him. Listen to what anybody in New Mexico had to say about him. It's all the same stuff. Okay. So look, I understand Tennessee fans hate him. I understand Auburn fans hate him. And that's fine. He beat you. I get it. But that doesn't mean NFL teams are going to hate him. All right. He might rub somebody the wrong way. If he acts entitled, that's going to rub people the wrong way. But he's not an entitled guy. He's a fighter. That's what he is. He's been doubted. I mean, he was a 0-star recruit. He played junior college. He's been doubted every step of the way. And so, you can say, well, Shedeur Sanders had an entitled path. Right?
Yeah.
5 stars, dad's Dion. Totally different scenarios going into that meeting. So I bristle at that notion that his personality is gonna really kill him in this scenario.
Yeah. No, I think pre the post Heisman ceremony stuff, I think a lot of people thought that his personality honestly might be what gets him drafted. Right? Like,
and by the way, that was a big mistake, and he'll get asked about that a lot.
Right. And I'm sure that he is going to have to explain some of those decisions to coaching staffs and talent evaluators.
Rightfully so.
But I think his personality and the locker room presence that he is actually may be a plus when it comes to the draft process. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to text or call. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We're going to still see if we can get TD on here to talk Senior Bowl, talk Brian Daboll, but we will keep the conversation going on the other side, and I believe we're going to get TD here when we come up next, as he just texted me back. So we're going to talk to TD on the other side. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game.
sure.
Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis with you on this Wednesday. And we are now joined on our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, by ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter Teron Davenport. Couldn't make the show tomorrow, so we are talking to him now. TD, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on, fellas? How are you?
Doing great. TD, obviously hate that you couldn't make it down to Mobile for the Senior Bowl, actually. So not down there, but did have some news yesterday for the Titans. Brian Daboll has been hired as the next offensive coordinator. That's somebody we talked a lot about last week. Feels like it's a really good fit for Cam Ward and this Titans offense under Robert Saleh.
Yeah, it is actually a really good fit. You look at some of the things that he has done in the past. Obviously, the quarterbacks, you're talking Brett Favre, Tom Brady, Josh Allen, Daniel Jones, a quiet one, Chad Pennington. So, and more recently with Jackson Dart. And I think you have to look at the roots of his concepts, right? It's the Earhart Perkins. So you see a lot of the spread. You see the vertical concepts, play action. And those are all good things that match Cam. But I think the best part of it is the way he worked with Charlie Weiss and Bill Belichick to kind of modify that and incorporate more run concepts. And then that makes the play action more effective. And we know what happened down the stretch, right, for the Titans. They started running the football more, and you saw Cam really start to elevate. So I think it's all a really good match. And I would expect to have a good year with Brian Daboll and Cam Ward working together.
TD, as you look at this coaching staff, lots of experience at the top. Robert Saleh, I believe 7 years as a defensive play caller. You mentioned all the experience for Brian Daboll. Bones Fossil comes back as the special teams coordinator. How important was that for the Titans in this process to bring in guys who you don't have to worry about them learning on the job? They've done this plenty, and they can just hit the ground running once they get in the building.
Yeah, I think it's critical. And the thing is, these are guys that have experience in the role that they are actually, working it, right? So, you have a coordinator with experience as a coordinator. You don't have a head coach with experience as a coordinator being a first-time head coach. And I know, that first time, that first go-around was tough for Brian Callahan. So it is important from that perspective. It allows them to hit the ground running. There's a lot less trial and error. On the job type of training, that trial and error has happened throughout their career. And so you're seeing a good product.
Hey, TD, as we look at the change in the coaching structure here with Robert Saleh and moving to the 4-3 defense, just looking at how it affects the draft, I wasn't sure how Ruben Bain would be much of a perfect fit for the Titans defense in their multiple 3-4, but he sure looks like a lot better fit for them at number 4 now than he would have before. Now, David Bailey from Texas Tech is also a great player, but is Bain a more natural fit for them?
That's a good question, Cory. And I don't really think that Bain is a more natural fit as much as I think he gives them maybe a little more versatility because you can bump him inside and play that 3-tech at times, or even like the 4-eye, you know what I mean? So I think that is something to look at. But to me, when you look at Jake, we talked about this last Thursday, right? When you look at Avril Reese, you look at David Bailey, you look at Ruben Bain. I think those are all guys that fit this scheme pretty well and in different ways. And so it's going to be interesting seeing that work out. But I tell you another thing, though. You look at the Senior Bowl, T.J. Parker out of Clemson. I mean, I was watching him on some of those one-on-ones they had televised, and like that long arm he has is something vicious. Then you look at Derek Moore from Michigan. I mean, he has a bull rush. There are a couple he just smoothly escorted a tight end back into the running back, and then you saw him run through one of the tackles, coming off the edge. So if they do decide to go receiver first, which I wouldn't recommend, there are some guys like Derek Moore, that they could get at the top of the second, like those fringe first round guys. Because you know how it is. Every year there's 40 first rounders. There's only 32 spots.
Yeah, and I guess I'm with you. I mean, they certainly need help on the edge, and they've got Femi coming back, so we'll see how he fits into that scenario. But as they search for a 1, at wide receiver. Can they do that in round 2? Because I don't think they can do it in free agency.
Yeah, I don't know that this team is going to necessarily have a one, to be honest with you.
It's going to be tough, I think.
Yeah, and look, Jordan Tyson is enticing because he is a guy that, will give you that yak. You know what I mean? He's a guy that, kind of fits that mold. Cardinal Tate is a playmaker, but to me, there's always that tax on edge defenders, and I think that makes the third or fourth best, or the second or third best edge rusher more valuable than the best wide receiver, if you follow what I'm saying, when you look at the board horizontally. And so to me, I think you could go back later and get a receiver that could be impactful. It doesn't necessarily have to be a number one, but he could be an impactful receiver. And, to get back on the Senior Bowl theme, Ted Hurst out of Georgia State is, he's 6'3", 185. The guy runs like a deer, and he goes up and gets the football. In fact, he had a really good catch yesterday, a one-hander on one-on-ones in the end zone. He's someone you could get, third round. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that he'll come in and be your Malik Neighbors or anything like that, but he could be an impactful player. And I've seen firsthand, from covering the Eagles, in their Super Bowl year, this team, they didn't have a dominant number one. They had Nelson Aguilar, Torrey Smith, Alshon Jeffrey, Mac Hollins, and it was just a collection. But it's like, okay, who do you take away? Because you take this person away, someone else is going to excel. So I kind of like that basketball team, like the Golden State Warriors. You got 5 that could score 20 at any given night.
This is a pretty good 5. There are a couple of ones in there, TD.
Yeah.
Talking with Teron Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter. TD, I know the weather stopped you from getting down there, but a big story from the Senior Bowl has been Diego Pavia, local over at Vanderbilt, and the height was listed 5'9" 3/4, lower than his listed height of 6 feet. But
7/8, Jake.
Sorry, 7/8. Don't want to slight him at all. But TD, there were some clips that came out from yesterday of him making some pretty impressive throws down there at the Senior Bowl. How do you view Diego Pavia as a draft prospect as he goes through the motions down there in Mobile?
Yeah, I mean, he's a day 3 guy. And just in watching it on NFL Network, he threw a couple corner routes where he drove that ball really nicely. He threw one down the field. I forget who the receiver was. It was from Baylor.
Kid from Oklahoma State.
No, from Baylor. He pushed it down the field.
That's right.
And it was Colton Hood was in coverage. He beat Colton Hood. But, I think we look at he's a day 3 guy. I mean, that really what it boils down to. And, I mean, teams aren't going to draft a guy at day 3 and design an offense around him. I think he's someone that will be a good backup and come in and win you 3 or 4 games if need be. Just kind of catch lightning in a bottle, so to speak. But you're not going to build an offense around him. And when you're 5'9", I always believe that size is not a skill, but it is an attribute. So when you look at this, right, you're 5'9", you got guys that are 6'4", 6'5", some are even 6'6". You got to try to find those passing lanes. So it just gives you another element that you have to overcome. That's not to say it can't be done, right? Because I'm old enough to have seen Doug Flutie. Cory, you are too, right? And
that's right.
Jake, you've seen Russell Wilson. We've seen Drew Brees at 6 feet even.
Kyler Murray.
Be able to do it. Yeah, Kyler Murray as well. So it can be done, but it's just tougher.
Yeah, Doug Flutie was. I remember when he came up with the Chicago Bears. That was a circus, but obviously had some great years with the Buffalo Bills. Hey, before the draft though, TD, we've got free agency. It's not that far away, and I'm really shopping the cornerback market. Who do you think is a good match for the Titans to bring in to give them some depth at corner?
Well, I think you saw him towards the end of the year, Alontae Taylor. With the Saints, he's a guy that I think fits really well. He's not going to be a huge contract to have to absorb. And then he's a fiery player, an emotional player. I think you can kind of put him in that DeMondre Lenore type of role. Like you look at what, he did for Robert Saleh. I think, the skill set is similar. The feistiness is similar. So that's the guy that I would look at. Greg Newsome is another one that I would consider. But I think Taylor is a better fit because he's a better outside corner, whereas Newsome, for most of his career with the Browns before he went to Jacksonville, he was more of a nickel guy, and I think they have that in Marcus Harris.
And let me ask you about the right guard situation. How much do you expect them to give Jackson Slater a look there, and how much do you think they just say, no, you need another year to develop, we need to bring in a starter there? Do you think they bring in competition, or do they bring in a starter?
I think they'll bring in competition, but I think that last game, with Zeitler being out and Slater getting a start and showing that he could do it, I think that helped him a lot, and he's coming from a smaller school, so it's going to take a little bit more of like getting used to that speed of the game and the strength of those guys on the interior. But
yeah,
I mean, look, you could go out and you could sign a guard, you know what I mean, and have them compete. And you also have Cory Levin that you could play a guard if he doesn't, play center. So there are options there.
TD, last one for you. Robert Saleh being introduced tomorrow. I know winning the press conference doesn't really mean much, but is there anything that Titans fans should be looking for or hoping to hear from Robert Saleh as he is introduced tomorrow?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, seeing Brian Daboll in place and seeing how many head coaching jobs that he was, in essence, a finalist for, the big question, I know what I'm going to ask him is, what's your succession plan? How are you going to have things in place in order
exactly what we said.
To be able to have him move on? Who's going to step in and have things just continue to be turnkey?
TD, always great stuff. Appreciate you jumping on. And again, Titans fans, be sure to keep up with TD on X tomorrow as all of the news comes down from the Robert Saleh introductory press conference. TD, thanks for coming on. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, for sure. Talk to you soon. Parker, man, you dropped the ball. No Wu-Tang to bring me in, man. We're going to talk about that, but it's all good.
See you tomorrow, TD.
All right.
ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter Teron Davenport joining us again. Can't make the show tomorrow, so he was gracious enough to join us today, talking Senior Bowl, Brian Daboll being hired, and Robert Saleh being introduced tomorrow. We'll react to what TD had to say and much more on the other side. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Parker Kelly. Next man up, 102.5 The Game.
Wow.
Next man up,
Billy
102.5
Squire.
The Game. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Parker Kelly. Big thanks to Teron Davenport for joining us in the last segment. Parker, TD was not happy with your music selection for him.
I know. I dropped the ball. That's the only thing that I could say. I'll look in the mirror, I'll own it, and I'll come back a better man the next day.
Accountability is important, Parker.
You were locked in on Throwback Wednesday, and usually we get TD on Thursday. So, some wires got crossed there. I know that you'll do better next time.
We will be back.
Yeah, Cory.
By the way, Billy Squire is even a little before me. I was a child when that song came out.
By the way, I think Billy Amick is walking out to bat for the Vols.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I didn't think about that. That is his walkout song. Cory, good stuff from TD there. Kind of on the same page with a lot of the things we were saying in terms of who you're looking at cornerback, Alontae Taylor, why am I blank? Newsome, Greg Newsome from the Jaguars. So on the same page with a lot of that stuff. And there's conversation going on the YouTube chat too, which I thought was interesting, that TD did kind of allude to the Titans should not take a wide receiver at number 4. He said, unlikely the Titans are going to have a 1 this year. And I think that's probably what it is they're going to go with a pass rusher at 4 and then try and get a wide receiver on day 2 who they think can develop into that number 1 guy.
And I agree, because when I was looking at just what was out there, the only one in free agency is Pickens, and I don't think they're going to want to risk that investment there. So we talk about bringing in a Juwan Jennings type, an established receiver who can certainly start for your football team and play, but be a complementary piece, or an Alec Pierce to the guys that you've got, and then bringing in another guy that you can develop and see if he can develop to become that one, because unless you take him at 4, that 1 is not screaming at you right now. He's just not. And you're just going to have to find a way to have 3 good ones. Right. And so, how much does Gunnar Helm develop this year? Who else do they bring in at tight end? Because right now they've got Gunnar and David Martin Robinson. Isaiah Likely is available in free agency. I mean, he and Chig are really similar. So I don't know why you wouldn't have just brought back Chig, but it'll be interesting to see what they do at that spot.
Yeah, and I think you look at this edge rush group, and there are guys who are clear top 5 talents at pass rusher. Carnell Tate, I really like him. I like Jordan Tyson. He can't stay healthy. It's not Jeremiah Smith. It's not Jamar Chase. You don't have the surefire. That's an all-pro wide receiver guy staring you in the face.
If you were picking 9, maybe, but you're picking at 4.
Right. And I think for sure, if you had the 4th pick in next year's draft and Jeremiah Smith sitting there, you run that card into the podium. But
he's not going to get there.
As good as I don't think he is either. But with Carnell Tate and Jordan Tyson, I think you're right. I think those guys are both probably top 10 picks, maybe not top 5 worthy picks. So glad to hear from TD there. And Cory and TD will be out there at the press conference tomorrow as Robert Saleh is introduced. So excited for that. We'll get to hear from the new head Titan for the first time. Some breaking news here. We've been following the Charles. This is from about 45 minutes ago. I just saw it.
Okay.
The Charles Bediako saga has been rolling on with Alabama, and he got the TRO. It was extended for 10 days, but Seth Davis reported earlier this morning, Tuscaloosa Circuit Court Judge James Roberts has recused himself from the Charles Bediako case at Alabama.
Because he's a booster.
Because he is a donor to Alabama. So
yes.
I think sanity wins in this, that the guy who's donating to Alabama shouldn't be making decisions that deal with Alabama athletics.
Who knew?
So that's been a big story around college basketball. I did promise a little bit of Vandy men's hoops talk, and we can talk more about it tomorrow. But that was a huge win last night, Cory, for Mark Byington and company. They lost 3 straight. You look at Texas, that was their first loss of the season. Tight one with Florida, and then Arkansas ran them out of the building. I mean, the Razorbacks, that was the best game they've played this year. Vandy kind of just ran into a buzzsaw. But the response in the last 2 games, blowing out Mississippi State on the road, and then last night in a less than full Memorial Gym due to the weather conditions, it was never close. Kentucky couldn't hit the broadside of a barn in the first half, and Vandy just ran away with it.
Well, I agree with you. You know, they got Arkansas and Texas's best shot on their home courts, and they were
Yep.
going to beat a lot of people on those nights. And that doesn't mean those results don't matter. There's value in those losses. There's value in those losses. Shea Ralph talked about it the other day when they got blitzed at South Carolina. That's going to make them a better team. And, you know, if you just coast along 17-0, 20-0, you know, you need to hit some bumps in the road to put your warts in your face. Okay. And, you know, their defense needed to be better. Their defense needed to be better. Their rebounding needed to be better. And they played defense last night, and they rebounded the ball incredibly well last night. They were aggressive on both ends of the floor, and they came out and they played quickly. And by the way, I know this Kentucky team, what were they, 14-6? But I think
Yes.
they were on a 5-game win streak. They've
Right.
been playing their best basketball, and you came out and threw a knockout punch in the first 15 minutes of the game. I mean, they came out, made a little push to start the second half, and Vanderbilt just pushed them right back over, and it was over. It was over. And again, Tyler Tanner showing that he is among the very best player in the SEC, and Tyler, the other Tyler Nickel, you know, showing, you know, what a versatile player he is, you know, to be able to, you know, rebound, play defense, pick, and just, you know, among the top 5 perimeter shooters in the country, you know, and again, they're still playing without Duke Miles.
Right.
So,
Duke Miles did not play last night. Frankie Collins has been out since late November,
so
I want to say.
they've been playing without a lot of stuff, and they're still finding a way to get it done. That was, like you said, those were 2 performances that not only that they needed, but also showed that they had the maturity to learn from their losses. And I think that's extremely valuable.
Right. And it's such a long season. You would rather have that 3-game losing streak in January than in late February or early March. And you come back, you beat Mississippi State by 32, you beat Kentucky by 25. Interesting one coming up this weekend. Supposed to be at Ole Miss on Saturday. I have not seen any news about that game, but, you know, I'm sitting here in Birmingham because we were supposed to be at Ole Miss tomorrow night. So I will have to keep updates with Vandy men's basketball on what they're going to do with that. But they have won back-to-back games, now 5-3 in the SEC. And I think they've been able to stem the tide a little bit. I think there was a lot of, Vandy's frauds. Like they started 17-0, but look at them now. They've lost 3 in a row. Vandy has been able to stable the ship, which I think is big heading towards February. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We've got one more segment on this Wednesday. We'll wrap up the show on the other side. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Parker Kelly, next man up, 1025 The Game.
Oh gosh, you got to be kidding me.
Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Corey Curtis, Parker Kelly, finishing up the show on this Wednesday.
With one of the worst songs ever made.
Parker bringing it with the music today.
Come on, Corey. You can't tell me that song doesn't make you laugh.
It does make me laugh. It's because it's terrible. Look, some guy sat down and wrote it, and he went to the band the next day. It's like, guys, I got it. I got this. Is going to make us rich. This is going to the top. Dude, what's it about? It's called She's My Cherry Pie. Yes. Love it.
Love it. That's the one.
That's it. That's where we make our mark.
We finally found it. Yeah, Parker getting some heat from Corey and TD on the music today.
I'm not criticizing. I'm just laughing. I'm laughing at the selection. That's all. He made me giggle.
Tomorrow, no TD on the program. Again, he is busy tomorrow getting ready for Robert Saleh being introduced. So we will hang in there without him. We will talk plenty of Titans. We're going to talk some Preds tomorrow. Preds are on a road trip right now. Fell in overtime yesterday to the Bruins. They will be in New Jersey tomorrow. And much more. Of course, plenty of Titans talk. Some more news on the Browns situation.
Okay.
We were looking at Todd Monken, who has been hired as the next head coach. Tom Pelissero put this out there. After the Browns informed defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz this morning they were passing him over to hire Todd Monken, Schwartz was visibly upset, said goodbyes in the building, and told other coaches he's not coming back. Schwartz is under contract, and Cleveland wants to retain him, but his future is now unclear. Very interesting stuff.
I can't believe a guy who was picked over doesn't want to stay. It's just another brilliant maneuver by the Cleveland Browns. Of course he doesn't want to stay. Of course he doesn't.
I mean, it's not like Andrew Berry hired him. He was on Kevin Stefanski's staff.
Look, everybody on that team knows. Oh, you didn't get the job. I mean, it's right. Everybody. I mean, it's not like Mike McCoy. You know, if the Titans decided to retain Mike McCoy, and put him on as an offensive analyst. I mean, he was just there to hold, to get him through to the other side.
Right.
But, Jim is an accomplished coach. All right. He's an alpha, by the way. So what if you know anything about him, what kind of reaction did you expect? Come on, man. That's a clown show over there.
Thinking that you could hire Todd Monken and maybe hold on to Jim Schwartz seemed to be a pipe dream. He is under contract, so they have to sort that out. But I mean, if he says he's not coming back, I really find it hard to believe that they're going to just be able to enforce that.
Well, you just don't pay him, and he's good with that. Jim's made a lot of money. He's been a head coach.
I think Jim Schwartz will be okay. Also, Nate Scheelhaase, the Rams passing game coordinator, who is up for that job as well, apparently is going to be staying with LA, but I would guess he might be a pretty popular candidate next year.
I think that's the best thing for Nate Scheelhaase, because he's a very young coach who still has not called plays or even been an offensive coordinator at this point. To continue to learn under Sean McVay, I think is way better than going to Cleveland and suffering the fate of being fired in 2 years.
Right. And he dipped his toe in the water of the head coaching interview process and got to go through it. And now next year, I'm sure he's more prepared when you're right. There are probably going to be some more attractive jobs open than Cleveland. I think you could name probably close to 31 that might be more attractive. But the Cardinals might be up there too. I'm not sure who's going to take that job. I guess Mike LaFleur is the rumored name, former Jets offensive coordinator under Robert Saleh. So
still hasn't. Now he did call plays for Robert Saleh.
He did.
He has not called plays in LA.
Yes. One of the other offensive coaches under Sean McVay out there with the Rams.
Yes.
Wrapping up the show today. Tomorrow, you will be out there as Robert Saleh is introduced to the Titans fans, Titans media. It's been a long time coming, nearly 10 days from when the report came out late last Monday night that he was going to be the next head coach. But we will get to hear from him. We've talked about the succession plan on the offensive side. I think that's the main thing everybody wants to talk about.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you think is important that Robert Saleh needs to get across in his introductory press conference tomorrow?
Well, I think he needs to talk about what he learned from his tenure with the New York Jets. There was a lot said about losing his love for the game and getting his love for the game back. And, the head coaching position can be overwhelming. How does he handle that, this time? How is he going to manage his time calling plays? Because Brian Callahan talked about being disconnected from the defense and not spending enough time with those guys. How does he plan to manage his time to be connected with the whole football team and not just half of the football team? On a personal level, I want to know how he balances being a father of 8 and being an NFL head coach. No, I'm serious. Those kids all demand attention. And
no, it's true.
I mean, he's there, and I know they're all of different ages, but clearly family is important to him, and because he wants all of his kids there. And I'm really,
right.
and I think that can give you a window into who he is as a man and as a coach. I want to hear how he handles that situation, having two things that are so important in your life and having time for both.
Yeah. And I think you make a good point about being able to be the head coach and not too focused on the defense, because we had the conversation on Wednesday of, I said the words head coach of the offense as your offensive coordinator, and you push back on that. And
no.
I do agree with you that yes, Brian Daboll, you bring in a guy with experience that you feel like you can kind of hand the reins over, but that doesn't mean you just completely disconnect from that side of the ball. Yeah. That's something that Robert Saleh, I think, does have to be better at from his first time with the Jets.
Head coach first. If you want to call the defensive plays, that's fine, but you're the head coach first. That's still the job.
Right. And I don't really know how deep they'll get into some of the personnel things with Robert Saleh, because there's going to be plenty of other opportunities to talk with Robert Saleh leading up to free agency, the draft. But having Mike Borgonzi and Robert Saleh there, I would like to know a little bit about. We talked about the 4-3 stuff and how do they plan to get the personnel that fits Robert Saleh's system. Paul Kaharski was talking about Tavondre Sweat. We've talked about Femi Oladejo. What's that going to look like as Robert Saleh tries to put his imprint on a defense that has not been running his system for basically 10 years?
Well, yes. Look, they've been multiple. I mean, they've been a 3-4 team, but they have run a lot of 4-3. Okay, they have had 4 hands in the dirt a lot. Okay, that is not that unusual for them. So I don't think it's quite the stretch that like say 25 years ago when you went 3-4 to 4-3 and it was just like, oh gosh, we got to have a dramatic change. Everyone is so multiple now that everyone has done it. Now they do have to tweak what they have on defense for sure, but I don't think it's as dramatic as it would have been say 20 years ago.
No, that's a good point. And we talked about Femi Oladejo. TD has said that he thinks Femi can play in the dirt, and he did play in the dirt with a hand in the dirt a little bit at UCLA.
Does he want to?
Right. I think, honestly, the bigger concern for me would be Tavondre Sweat, because we talk about him like he's one of the future pillars on that defense, even though the production hasn't quite been there. But you spend the 35th pick on a guy, you expect him to be. But Mike Borgonzi didn't draft him. Robert Saleh didn't draft him. I do wonder if he doesn't fit Robert Saleh's system on defense, maybe if he becomes somebody the Titans are shopping this offseason.
Well, number one, who's going to play instead of him? All right. You don't, just because he may not fit perfect doesn't mean you have to get rid of him. Okay?
You don't want to create a hole unnecessarily.
No, he's under a rookie contract, so the money is reasonable. He has proven he can play a lot of downs. And while he has not been the pass rusher that they hoped for, he is good against the run. And so he can at least be a 2-down player for you. All right.
Yeah.
And if you have the plan to play someone else that you have in mind and you want to put in there and then you want to trade him, then that's fine. But like you said, don't create a hole just because he's not your image of what you perfectly want to put there. Aaron Donald was not the perfect picture of what a defensive tackle is in the National Football League. He wasn't even 300 pounds, but he was a holy terror and one of the greatest to ever play the game. So, and I'm not making a comparison between Tavondre Sweat. I'm just saying, you don't know.
Right.
You don't know. I mean, you invested highly in the kid. Like I said, he has shown he can play a lot. I'd be more interested in seeing how he fits or how he doesn't fit than just making the judgment of, well, this is how big he is and this is what he played in the past. We're going to dump him.
Right. Cory, thanks for coming on. Been a blast. Enjoy the press conference out there tomorrow. Everybody follow along with Cory on News 2, and we'll do it again in person next week.
All right. Yeah, we'll be in person. Momo has fallen asleep. She didn't make it through the whole show. So maybe next time.
We will see. That'll do it for us. Chase and Big Joe are coming up next. You're on 102.5 The Game.